Thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast from Visit Aurora from the rafters of the Stanley Marketplace. This is the show dedicated to telling the stories of Aurora, Colorado. Hi there, my name is Dave. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for Visit Aurora. In 2013, Vanessa Guzman and her husband Leo turned their love of entertaining and cooking for family into a full-fledged business. Today's Chef in a Box has 2 locations in Aurora and a mobile catering business as well. Vanessa, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm always fascinated by family businesses. It's the ultimate American dream. But before we get to that point, What was life like growing up for you? I know you're from Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't live there, unfortunately, but my family's from there. And you pronounced it very well, Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. Very good. But I actually grew up in Tucson, Arizona. I was a wildcat baby growing up
and
the U of A.
What was that like? What was your childhood like?
A lot of the food, like for example, our tacos that we do, we use the Sonoran tortillas, and so it's a little bit different from the street tacos that normally everybody knows, which is like the corn tortillas. These are like very thin, buttery tortillas. Food was always definitely a big, part of growing up. And especially when I got married, it was part of my husband too. So when family would come over, it was, let's go to their house and they're cooking for us. So it was kind of a natural convergence into the food truck business.
So how did you and your husband, Leo, first meet?
Oh, that's a funny story. His sister was my best friend growing up.
Nice.
Yeah. So I actually knew his mom and his grandma and all his tias and everybody before I became the wife. So it was
But did you know him?
Awesome. He lived in Denver.
Okay.
So he lived in Denver. So I didn't meet him until I was like in high school.
Is the sister the one who hooked it up?
Kind of. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, you had a passion for food, and did he have a background in food as well?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And what was that background? What was he a chef?
So he's always been like the designated chef of the family. Like everybody knows Leo makes the best steaks, he makes the best chicken, etc. So that's kind of how we progress there.
So is it a dynamic where he's like the chef and you have the business acumen, or
no,
do you
actually,
have your own?
It's a funny story because when we first got married, I didn't even know how to cook. I loved food, but I didn't even know how to cook. And so we've kind of worked together, and he showed me a lot. He and his mom taught me a lot. And then over the years, I've kind of grown, a love for it, and I've progressed forward. And so now, not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a better cook than he is.
That was my next question. Who's the better chef in the family?
I think it's me now.
Oh, and he's not here to defend himself.
It's okay. I think he would agree.
So let's go back to 2013. Where did the idea for your business come from?
Okay, so funny story. All those hot dog stands outside of Home Depot. So he became really good friends with the owner of the one that was the Home Depot on Tower and I-70 in Aurora.
Okay. Yeah.
And we decided, he went on vacation and we covered him for a couple weeks, fell in love with the business, and so we decided to buy him out. And he's an electrician by trade, so he went and started his own electrical company. So we decided to buy him out. So almost immediately upon taking over his business, we completely changed the menu. So he had mostly just hot dogs,
right,
which we do. We still have the hot dogs and brats and everything, but we added in the Mexican food, so we can, because we're Mexican American. So I wanted to have a Mexican, food tasting, but also the American side of it. So we do both.
I've always joked that, the hot dogs at the home improvement stores are the best. And you're strategically located now at a couple of Lowe's stores.
Yeah.
What is the benefit to setting up shop in a location like that?
Yeah. So like one of the biggest benefits that we have is that people know that we're there 7 days a week, 10 to 5. So I don't know about you, but I used to be the kind of person that I'd be like, I'm craving this now. And I'm the kind of person that would drive, far to go, but having us be so local, it's just so much easier. And actually we used to be at the one next to the airport. That was the last Home Depot. So we specialize in elk and buffalo brats. We'd get a lot of tourists who would stop and pick up elk and buffalo on their way out to DIA.
Specifically for that.
Yep,
wow.
Yep. So they'd find us online, and because where else can you get elk and buffalo? You know, so and it's quick, ready to go in 5 minutes or so. Without having to go to some of the brick and mortar, which I love anyway. But then you have to sit down. It's a whole thing.
But you also have that captive audience. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm doing a home improvement project, it's a minimum of 2 to 3 trips. Like it's never just one trip, and you don't necessarily want to stop at a restaurant, but
exactly.
You guys offer a restaurant quality product.
Exactly.
Which we'll get to in just a second. I want to get back to your marriage though. Which has its own challenges, but what's that dynamic like owning a business with your significant other?
You know what? It's honestly the best and the worst.
Yeah.
One of the best things about Leo is that he comes from a construction background, so he actually built all our food trailers from the ground up.
Okay.
Like literally, Axel made the the framing and. From the ground up,
Right.
So it's been amazing that he does that part for me. Anything goes wrong, because it's very expensive. I was on What's for Lunch the other day, and Larry asked. He said, "Hey, are you a mechanic?" I was like, "No, but my husband is."
Yeah.
I mean, not a mechanic per se, but he can handle all that kind of stuff. This is a part of the food truck business that nobody talks about, which is like when something breaks, you have to fix it or you're out of business.
Right.
There's no such thing as not showing up the next day, right? So I'm very blessed that Leo has that, skill set there. And then I handle all of like this stuff, the marketing, the media, that kind of stuff. But, staffing, and I'm definitely a more vocal presence as well.
It's become a standard question, but it was a universal experience for us all. How did you manage the last couple of years, and what lessons have you and your staff taken, hopefully post-pandemic?
Right. So we used to be at 5 different Home Depots. They decided to shut everybody down due to the pandemic, which we understood, and we posted on our social media. And then they decided that they never want food vendors ever again.
Really?
Yes. So then we said, okay, we got to pivot. And so we signed a contract with Lowe's. And so we moved from Home Depot to Lowe's for that reason. So, one of the main reasons why I wanted to come on here too was to let people know, because I've had people come and say, hey, weren't you at, X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And yes, we were, and we've had to pivot. And so now we've moved over to Lowe's, which we're very happy with. So
yeah, I mean, I don't want to get bogged down in that discussion necessarily, but it seems odd that they wouldn't want that presence because it's such a convenience for their customers, and they don't have to do anything really but provide the space. You handle, I imagine, all the permits and all the food licensing.
And we paid rent too.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's probably a whole nother discussion.
Yeah,
but
it was a corporate, I was told it was a corporate
mandate.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was having to do with, needing more merchandise space.
Okay, fine.
That was the briefing I received.
You mentioned Leo built all your trucks, your husband, from the ground up. What went into that? Was it all trial and error? Did he just know how to build it? And do you build it specifically as a mobile kitchen, knowing how he needs it orientated and all that stuff?
Exactly. So there's a lot of collaboration there. Actually, our son, he helps a lot too. He's 19. He runs my Havana location, but he helps a lot too. So it was a lot of, when we do the burrito. Have you ever seen the movie with the McDonald's movie where they're on the tennis court? We did the same thing. Okay. So we did the same thing. We mapped it out and we said, so when somebody orders a burrito, what's the most efficient way? We got to have the steak ready, but it's a very fine line because everything is cooked to order. So we have some stuff ready, but not fully ready. So we got to have the steak ready, but then we put it on the flat top and then put the rest of the ingredients, warm up the tortilla. What's the most efficient way? And so that's how we did it, was we mapped it out to see how everything would go. And then Leo just basically finagled, and he knows all the technical stuff of this is a big thing that food truck owners don't know, is there's weights so you have to have your weight on a certain part of the trailer. So he knew, our refrigerator, our prep cooler weighs this much, our blah 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 weighs this much, this is how much power is coming out of our grill, how much electricity we're using in this warmer. So he was able to do all that technical stuff for me so that I could say, I need the warmer on the left side, not the right side. Can we make this work?
So not only do you need the acumen of a chef, but you almost have to have an engineering degree to really do it the most efficiently. And then you're also, navigating electrical systems and plumbing systems and all that. Yeah. Did your trucks evolve as like through trial and error,
Yes.
through learning, like from the first
Yes.
truck to the next to the third, and ultimately your trailer?
Yeah, so the very first one we called Chef in a Box because it's a tiny little trailer. We still have it. That's the one we use for catering.
Okay.
And that one we've completely gutted since. But when we started, it was very much, okay, the grill was on this side and the hood was on this side, but then the flat top was way over here. So we definitely, it took us a couple, rounds of summers of busyness to think, okay, this is how we're going to set it up.
I mean, you could even start a consultancy firm if you wanted to for other people who want to set up food trucks, because you really have that 360 degree experience from beginning with an idea to full implementation.
I do a lot of networking online on Facebook. I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups. And so I don't necessarily offer consulting services, but I do give a lot of advice.
Oh, that's nice.
So like one of the things I recently actually took over, my cousin owns a food truck in Phoenix. And so she told me she started this Revy kiosk. And I was like, okay, well, let's look into this. And I started it and I love it. So it's basically it's an iPad kiosk.
Okay.
And people will come up, they'll place their orders there. So the order goes straight to the kitchen. And it bogs down my line a little bit less of having us run to the front, take the cash, and then go back, wash our hands, put our gloves on. It's a whole process. So this way we stay in the back of the kitchen and the orders just keep coming through. Another idea that Leo had too is everything is self-service in the front. So if people get a chip and drink combo, they can just grab their own chips and drinks, and so it just makes everything a little bit more efficient. And I share that in my Facebook groups as well.
That's really generous of you, because that's a competitive advantage that you're kind of giving away. That's free game, as they say. Your burgers and dogs are great, and those are staples, but there's so much more to your menu. Your menu is very diverse. Can you talk a little bit about where that diversity comes from? I mean, you've mentioned your roots, but there also seems to be a true love for food.
Right, exactly. So everything we have is locally produced. All the brats and all of that comes from a local producer here. One of them is Charcut Nouveau. They do our elk and buffalo brats. And then the other one is Old Timer. They do like our honey bourbon and our beer brats and all of those. I really like partnering up with local businesses because I'm all about supporting local, but also because you get a little bit better quality, I think. You get a little bit better quality. They're small batches, so they're specific. It almost feels like they're specifically made just for us, even though I know they have other customers, but it feels that way, and the as I mentioned before, being Mexican American, I wanted to have some of my Mexican food in here. So the tacos, the tortas, the burritos, we brought those in the winter. We do elote, we add a little bit more that kind of stuff as well.
This is a silly question.
There's no such thing as silly questions.
Oh, this one might. What's the difference between a torta and like a traditional sandwich or a hamburger?
Yeah, so the torta's made on a bolillo bun, which is it's almost like a semi-sweet bun. And so we cut them in half, toast both sides, and then the torta has avocado, lettuce, tomato on one side, and then mayo on the bottom, and then we put the meat on there with our roasted homemade. I hate saying homemade because it sounds like I'm making it at my house, and I'm not. Trailer made, food truck made.
Restaurant made.
Yeah, roasted jalapeno salsa on top with the meat and grilled onions. And so, whereas our burgers are made like on a sesame seed bun, which it's got a little bit different flavor. I would say that the bolillo is a little bit fluffier than a burger bun.
I just learned something today. That's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you mentioned how you locally source specifically a lot of your proteins. What was that like during the pandemic? I imagine it was nice to support one another as local businesses, small businesses, but also you probably gave yourself an advantage over those who rely on these mass kind of bland distributors. Yeah,
definitely. We worked with them and they've been amazing. We also get, like, for example, our steak and our al pastor comes from a local carniceria. So we worked with them to, just unfortunately during the pandemic, the issue we had was we went from, these full-size huge orders, twice a week to like once every couple of weeks, because what we did to survive during the pandemic was we couldn't immediately open at Lowe's and Home Depot had to shut down. So what we did was we did a lot of HOA events, we did a lot of mobile stuff, and so I wasn't doing the volume that we were doing pre-2020. And so I was very lucky because even though they're local distributors, they do have minimums. They're a business too, right?
Absolutely.
So I was very lucky that as we reopened and as we started, that they didn't say, hey, you're not hitting your minimums. You've got to close, go up higher or something. I was very lucky that they worked with us in that aspect.
Very thankful that you brought some bratwurst, and I actually already shared some with my team.
Oh, good.
They went and hid, and they're eating it as we speak. Along with your classic dogs, you offer Polish sausages, the super popular honey bourbon dog. You have hot links, you have beer brats, you have elk and buffalo sausages. I imagine that's when they're available.
Right.
You and Leo took a classic food truck experience, but really added a gourmet element. You've leveled up, it seems.
Yeah. So that's one thing about Leo. And you asked me what's the best and worst thing about being married is he's super picky.
Yeah.
He is super picky. If it doesn't look good and it doesn't taste good, he will not eat it. And so he's very picky, but it's turned out to be a good thing because in the beginning, we tried a couple different brands. And so we settled on Charcut Nouveau and Old Timers because of their quality, because of Leo's pickiness. And so one of the ways that we add to that is all the extra condiments that we have. So it's not just onions and relish. I brought you some with grilled onion.
Yeah.
But we have like grilled onion and sauerkraut, and we have about 30 different mustards. So we have a
I'm sorry.
huge...
I didn't know there was that many different mustards.
Yes, there is. We've got like dill mustard, garlic mustard, horseradish mustard, spicy brown mustard. There's all kinds of mustard. So we have all those different things, which I think really add. And it's funny because with the new Revy kiosk, it's really cool because people can customize them. So they'll make combinations that I've never even thought of. Just today, I sold chili cheese fries with bacon and grilled onion on top.
Okay.
I was like, boom, that sounds delicious. But it's not on the menu because we kind of want to sell everything a la carte, and then people add to it what they want or not. There's people who come and they just want the meat in the bun. They just want it, just want to taste the meat, which is perfectly fine as well.
I'm going to get a little controversial here. Is it ever appropriate for a person over the age of 8 to put ketchup on a dog?
I think so.
Okay, good. Me too.
So let me tell you why. Okay, so there's a couple different kinds of hot dogs that I do it on. I will put it on the hot link. I don't know why, just that tomato flavor on the hot link just gives it a little bit extra oomph. But I also do grilled onions, so there's that adult element.
Okay, you made me feel a little better about it because I have the palate of a 7-year-old myself. You mentioned the events and catering trailer.
Yeah.
Talk about the type of events you do and how is the menu different?
Okay, so we will have like a avocado Gouda burger. I have a little bit more specialty items, but I do get rid of some of the Mexican items only because in the effort of time.
Okay.
It takes longer to make the burritos and all of that. So when I'm serving 200-300 people, it's just I know it's possible, but it's just a little bit much for that specific catering trailer. I've done other events where we do have everything ready to go ahead of time. So like if they specifically ask, can you bring just tacos? We can. But for the most part, we do the brats and the burgers. The most recent big one that I had was the Foxfield 4th of July party. And so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that was another one but it was 4th of July. So everybody just wanted brats and burgers. So that was perfect. And then after that, I'm a contender. I haven't finalized it yet, but it looks like we're going to be in the Oktoberfest, the Denver Oktoberfest. Oh,
wonderful.
Next month. So I'm super excited about that one.
Okay, well, we'll check out your social media to see if you get that. Well, when you do get that, let's manifest that. Let's put that on the universe a little bit.
Yes.
One thing that strikes me about your business is that it's not just a hot dog cart outside of a home improvement store. You have a passionate following.
Yes.
I mean, you have glowing reviews on social media.
Thank you.
People go out of their way to visit you at your various locations. That validation's got to feel good.
It does. I actually one of the biggest things that we center on, and it is a family-run business, like my husband and I do it, but my son runs one of them. My sister helps us out. My mother-in-law has worked with us as well. So it's very much a family-run business. But even those that aren't blood family have become family. So like, for example, one of my longest staff members, Jessica, I've known her since her babies were like 2 years old, and now they're in high school. So they've kind of become family. And so I really carry that not just with my staff, but into my customers. And so a lot of my customers that knew us from where we used to be and now are at Lowe's, a lot of them feel like they've been part of our growing and are happy to come back.
That's really special. special. You know,
it is. It really is.
You started with a dream, with a goal, and it's grown probably to even more than you even imagined, and it's onward and upward from here, I imagine, too.
Exactly. Well, God willing, we shall see.
Personal question, and I know it's like choosing your favorite child, but what's your favorite thing on the menu? What's your go-to?
Okay, so right now, no, not right now. Literally always. My favorite has always been the buffalo brat. Because it's one of those things that, like, where else can you get a buffalo brat?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it's got jalapenos and cheese, like, cooked in the sausage. So it's got that really good flavor. I brought you one.
Oh,
hopefully that's not the one you gave away.
I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. If not, I have some talking to do.
Yeah. And so I really like that because it's just one of those things, like, where else can you get that? Because I now know how to cook, I really have a hard time with going to restaurants too, because I'm like, I don't want to order something I know I can make at home.
Right.
So
probably better.
Exactly. So I like going to places where I'm like, I would have a harder time making this at home. And so that's what I try to focus on too.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that you and your husband, Leo, put so much care and quality and creativity into your menu. You guys have really created something special, and Aurora should be proud of it.
Thank you. We're happy to be, part of the community, and Aurora's awesome. I mean, but we all know that already.
Well, since we're visiting Aurora, tell us why you love Aurora so much, Vanessa. Sell the destination for us.
So one of the main reasons I love Aurora is the diversity. There's literally everything from Cuban food to Ethiopian food to Mexican there's literally a little bit of everything. And that's just important, because the more diverse any place is, the more your mind expands. So it's better.
We have more than 250 international eateries, a lot of them along on Havana Street.
Wow.
And that's what really separates Aurora from a lot of the cities, not only in Colorado, but in the country is, we're one of the most diverse cities when it comes to culinary experiences.
Yeah.
And you're part of that amazing tapestry. So thank you for that.
You.
Visit Chef in a Box at chefintheboxcolorado.com. They're also at the Lowe's at 1701 South Havana Street and at 4455 South Buckley Road. Open every single day, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Vanessa, thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast. Visit Aurora is the official destination marketing organization for the city of Aurora, Colorado, and acts as the primary liaison between meeting planners and hotel partners. As Aurora's Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Aurora's mission is grounded in showcasing Aurora as a premier destination for meetings, business, and leisure travel. Visit Aurora represents more than 75 plus hotel properties with 13,500 plus guest rooms and more than 1 million square feet of meeting space, including Colorado's largest resort, Gaylord Rockies Resort and Convention Center. As Colorado's third largest city, Aurora is located minutes away from Denver International Airport and showcases mountain views, memorable meeting spaces, and 250 plus international eateries that offer a unique experience for each and every visitor. As the gateway to the Rockies, Visit Aurora's role in the local community goes beyond marketing the city as a destination. The Visit Aurora team is here to assist you with your Colorado visit, from facilitating your meeting, event, or convention to helping you discover local flavor and attractions. Go beyond the boardroom in Aurora, Colorado. For more, visit us at visitaurora.com.